Hello, everyone. My name is Liz Arago, and I'm here on behalf of the Drawing Room. And we're here tonight as part of AHA Night. So AHA Night is a free arts and culture event celebrated every month in downtown New Bedford, where the Drawing Room is located. And some of the programming happens online, such as the event you're here for tonight, which is Worry, a virtual workshop with Carrie Vinson. And Carrie Vinson is joining us tonight. So hello, Carrie. Thank you so much. So if you have any questions throughout the program for Carrie, please type them in the comments and we'll get to as many as we can throughout the workshop. And I'll be posting some useful links in the comments section as well. So let me first tell you a little bit about Carrie. So Carrie Vinson is a licensed independent clinical social worker, a life coach, and an expert in helping people deal with the universal emotion of worry. And she's going to guide us through a series of techniques that you can use immediately and also share with your family and friends. So Carrie is also multi-talented. She's the creator of the Worry Deck series. So the Worry Deck is a series of card decks and also online applications that give you practical affirmations and techniques to help you be more aware of and to give you a mastery over worry. So in case you're wondering why an art and design shop is offering a program on worry, well, let me tell you. So we first connected with Carrie through artist Kim Morin Wynick. So Kim is a very talented artist whose original pastels are available at the Drawing Room. Kim also designed and illustrated the Worry decks based on Carrie's content. So Kim and Carrie collaborated on this project, and their partnership has brought us all together tonight. So a special thank you to Kim for bringing us all together. And with that, I'm going to turn things over to our very special guest, Carrie Vinson.
Thank you, Liz. And thank you, Anthony, for having me. And thank you, Kim, for connecting all of us. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen. That's not it.
So we'll get there.
That. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing and then I'm going to find it again.
No worries. It wouldn't be a program if we didn't have a little technical difficulty. It's kind of
well, I am definitely a therapist and not a tech savvy person. So I have it up, but I have a feeling I'm not sharing my screen. So am I? Not yet.
Yep, if you hit the share screen button at the bottom.
Got it. Okay. And now I think I will have it.
Okay, so I'm going to add it to the stream, but I just need to see your keynote presentation. There we go. So something that we might worry about is technical difficulties during a live stream, and we've already taken care of that. So
right. That's right. And luckily, we have strategies to help us get through times like this. So thank you again. And yes, I am Carrie Vinson. So thank you so much for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. I know that we're all extremely busy and there's lots to do's. So who here worries? A hint, as you can say, is we all do. And day to day, those worries may vary, right? So some days it may be a worry about tactical stuff. Some days it may be a worry that we're going to be late to an appointment. Other days it might be bigger, right? You're worried that you're just messing it all up. You're worried that you're not being a good enough mom. You're not being a good enough employee. You're not being a good enough daughter or son. We have big worries. We have little worries. You are not alone. So a little bit about me. So that's why we're here tonight. We're going to talk about this because you're not alone and everyone worries. So a little bit about me. I myself really suffered with anxiety as a child. It wasn't diagnosed. It didn't stop me. I would say for many, we're very resourceful and it can drive us, right? So anxiety can give us a lot of energy and keep us going, nervous energy. So a lot of times we can overcompensate for the anxiety and kind of push it away and think that it's normal. So I myself had anxiety as a child. And through the years, I've really been able to better understand how to manage it in my own life, and now how to help others. I am now, not now, I have been a mom to two children. One's in high school and one's in middle school, and they, of course, also are anxious from time to time. And so, they believe that I know very little about anxiety because I'm mom, but in fact, sometimes they will listen. My mom also lives with us, and I find that getting outside is a really good way for me to relieve some stress. So a little bit about my work. I have come to specialize in treating anxiety disorders. I also treat mood disorders. I have an office in Walpole, Massachusetts. However, since Corona started, I've been doing everything virtually, which is, caused some worries, but also some flexibility and an opportunity to overcome some of that. I've been practicing as an LICSW, a licensed independent clinical social work, for 20 years now. I'm also a trained professional life coach, as Liz shared with you, and the creator of the deck, which I actually have copies here. There's the physical deck, and there's also the apps for your Apple phone, and the Android decks are coming soon. So tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you different strategies and information that is provided in this deck. This deck came about because in working with clients who suffer with anxiety, I realized that we all need something, a tool that we can have physically with us when we are feeling anxious, right? Because the best way to combat anxiety is by physically doing something. All right. So what you see now on my screen is we have upwards of 70,000 thoughts a day. Okay. On average, we vary between 50 and 70,000 thoughts per day. 98% of those thoughts are repeated from yesterday. It's not amazing. We only have 2% of new thoughts a day. And even in positive people, when researched, 60 to 80% of those thoughts are negative. So wow, right? Why is this important? When we understand this, we can better understand how and why we are approaching circumstances the way we are, okay? So what we're going to talk about is, for example, I would like you to imagine yourself driving in the left-hand lane, so the passing lane, on a 3-lane highway. Okay, and you are behind a car that is going 10 miles per hour slower than you are, right? So that is the event, all right? So we've all, if you drive and you've driven for a little while, you likely have been in such a scenario, okay? So you're in your car. So that is the event. So without even being aware of it, if we're having 70,000 thoughts per day, how many thoughts are we instantly having whenever we are faced with any event, okay? And what influences those thoughts? Well, as you can see here, the thoughts are influenced by our beliefs. And where are our beliefs coming from? Our beliefs are coming from maybe they were given to us by our families, by our religion, by our the people that we spend most time with, our friends. They were also passed along generationally, right? So beliefs are very deep-seated, and we all want to believe that what we believe is true. We also, our thoughts are very much influenced by past experience. This can be past experience from childhood. It could be past experience from moments ago, right? So if you're in the car and you didn't sleep well last night and you're a little bit stressed out, my guess is that your thoughts look different, if you will, than if you were well rested and you weren't in a hurry, okay? So when we start to better understand our beliefs, we better understand our thoughts. And this is why I offer you this. All right. So why is this important? Because our thoughts are creating our feelings. All right. So when we are better understanding our thoughts, we better understand our feelings. And you can kind of guess what comes next, right? Is based on our feelings, that determines often what kind of behaviors come as a result of it, right? How do we react? How do we respond? And finally, of course, all events are connected. So in the case where someone is driving in the left-hand lane, okay, in the passing lane, and someone in front of them is going slower than they are, it varies from driver to driver, from all of you who are watching this now, is what are your beliefs? What are your experiences? Where are you at in this moment, right? Are you well rested? Are you feeling kind? Are you feeling irritable, right? And that leads to the interpretation of the event and therefore influences feelings, okay? If you believe that the person in front of you has nowhere to go and you are overworked and you're overtired, you could become annoyed, right? The thought is, this person has it so much easier than me. Clearly they're not in a hurry. Clearly they don't have as much on their plate, and we become resentful. We become angry, all right? And how subsequently does our behavior follow, right? We may flip them off. We may change lanes without using a blinker. We may tailgate them, as opposed to maybe we're not in a hurry. Maybe we are, it's a day that we get to relax and we slept well and we just got some good news, and maybe our thoughts are, good for them. They're not in a hurry. Isn't this great? And maybe you feel neutral, or maybe you feel like you want to just, wave to them. All right. I'm happy to answer any questions about this. When we better understand this process, we can truly start to make a shift in how we are experiencing events. As we know right now, as we live through this pandemic, we can't always control the events that happen in our lives. What we can control is the experience that we have. Again, this isn't necessarily easy, but we do have some choice in this. And again, if there's any questions, and Liz, if any questions pop up, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them.
Absolutely, I definitely will. And I also wanted to say, I feel like you were speaking directly to me with the car scenario, because yesterday I was talking to Anthony shortly after I got pulled over for having sped around slow traffic as I was cranky and irritated. But I think, having talked to you the day before, I was very calm and reasonable in my response after I got pulled over, perhaps not prior to speeding up and going far faster than the speed limit. So I think that was a very good scenario. And I'm sure, I know Anthony was laughing in the background as you were talking about that as well, because I rejected her phone call because I was getting my citation.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Well, it happens. It happens.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about some strategies that you can use in the car when you're feeling irritable, okay?
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the strategies.
All right, so in the worry decks, there's the worry deck original deck, and then the worry deck for children or kids. The strategies are broken up into different categories, and then based on the categories, the illustrations, the beautiful illustrations that Kim has done, they're organized in that way. So the first strategy that we're going to be talking about is the breathing or meditation type strategies. So I invite everyone at this time to make themselves comfortable. If you're not, I hope you already are, because it's 7:15 in the evening. And everyone knows what the five senses are, right? It's what we see, it's what we hear, it's what we taste, what we smell, and what we feel. So the importance of this strategy is that oftentimes when we're worried, we are way out in front of us, right? We're worried what it's going to look like when kids go back to school. We worry how the holidays are going to pan out when, Uncle Bob and Aunt Tilda, they come into town and we're not really, fond of them. There are lots of different reasons why we worry. There's big worries, right? Like, what if I get sick? What if somebody gets sick? Especially now during Corona. So, but those thoughts are oftentimes future oriented. They may be as soon as, oh, I'm worried about how this workshop is going to go. So it might be in the next, few moments, or it may be tomorrow. It may be in a year. Okay, I'm worried that I'm not going to find a job, and I'm really worried about finances. Okay, so the idea of the five senses meditation is to take you from the future, where our mind often tends to go, and to bring you back here into this present moment. Right? So as you sit back, I'm going to lead you through a very short example of a guided meditation. All right? So taking in a deep breath, our breath is the most powerful tool we have in combating anxiety and worry and stress. Taking a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Okay. Now I invite you to look around. Look around your surroundings, exactly where you are, and notice what it is that you see, right? Noticing light, shadows, noticing textures, noticing color, okay? Just notice and try to really notice, right? We go through our days so busy and we might glance over and go, oh yeah, there's a clock, yep, and a lamp. When is the last time that you actually really looked at your lamp? And as I do that, I'm thinking, I really should dust that lamp, but that's a whole other workshop. So, looking around you, just noticing your surroundings, okay? And trying to let go of any thought. Just notice. Thoughts are going to pop up. Just return to what it is that you are doing. And right now you are just looking around and you're noticing different colors and textures, shadow and light. Okay? Now, keeping that in mind, I would like you to start to listen. And at first, you're going to hear my voice. But then, as I become quiet and you listen harder or listen more closely, you will notice the sounds that are closest to you. And as you keep listening, see if you can find sounds that are further away from you. Can you listen closely and maybe even hear your breath? Noticing the ticking of a clock, the shutting of a door, perhaps movement in your seat. Okay. So then we move on to what do you smell? Right now, I chose before this session to put on an essential oil in the office. And that helps me stay very grounded and here in the present because it's another one of my senses that gets stimulated in the moment, right? But perhaps you smell someone making dinner or hoping that someone's making dinner. But what do you smell? This is a lovely exercise to do when you're having your tea or your coffee or your drink in the morning and your mind starts to wander, just really paying attention to the smell of your tea and your coffee. And then to follow that, what do I taste? Okay. Very often we're standing at the island and we're shoving food into our mouth, or we're in a hurry, we're grabbing our lunch at our desk, and we may not be really paying attention to the taste, all the flavors of our food, right? And finally, what do I feel? And in this one, we're not talking about emotions. We're actually talking about physical sensations. All right. So part of managing our anxiety is really better understanding and becoming greatly aware of sensations in our body. So in this one, I encourage you to do a quick body scan. All right, starting with your toes, taking your attention and your breath down to your toes, and just noticing: are your toes warm? Are they cold? Are they in socks? Are they bare? Can you feel the floor beneath your feet? Perhaps your legs are crossed. Can you feel where your legs are crossed, or can you feel the backs of your legs against the chair that you're sitting on? Moving up and paying attention to your torso. Can you feel where your back meets the chair? Do you have tightness in your shoulders? As you kind of move your shoulders around a little bit. Do you notice that there's tightness in your jaw, your throat? Noticing a lot of times with worry and stress and anxiety, we feel a heaviness, a constriction in our chest. You may feel the fluttering of butterflies. And just really feeling that heaviness. And just checking in and seeing, is there any sensation there? And if your mind starts to wander and you forget where you are, you always can return to your breath. Okay. So again, as we finish up, paying attention down your arms, into your hands, taking a few more deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And we just finished the 5 senses meditation. And hopefully you are feeling more, we use the word grounded, right? Grounded, what does grounded mean? It actually means that we are here. We are not floating off in the future. We're not floating off in the past, right? We're feeling like we are solid, we're grounded. And if a really, really strong breeze comes, it's not gonna knock us over. We are grounded, we are rooted here in this present moment. And when we are grounded and we are present in this moment, we are much more resilient and able to tolerate and manage our worry and our anxiety. Okay. So, Liz, are there any questions?
So we'll give people a few seconds to chime in with some comments, because I think they might have been thoroughly enjoying the meditation that you were taking us through.
Wonderful.
I know I was. So one thing that, I noticed right after, I already feel much more still and grounded. I'm naturally a very animated person, a little uppity. And I do find when I meditate, it does, bring a little bit more of a calming energy to me, which I greatly appreciate. So thank you for that. And one thing that I learned when I was first starting meditation was, I know I myself, deal with anxiety. And someone told me, if you're having a hard time focusing on the breath, because I'd often associate the breath with an anxious feeling in my chest. She said, just pay attention to the feeling of the breath coming in and out of your nose. And so I thought that was a good tidbit for anyone feeling that same thing, because, you reference like the feeling, the weight. And so if that's something that's keeping people from, being able to think they can or can't meditate, the breath is wonderful, but there are other ways to feel it if it gives you stress in other ways. So I wanted to.
Thank you for that. There are so many different ways, right? And sometimes even the word meditation can make people start to like hyperventilate. It truly is, there's so many different ways to meditate, if you will. And really what we're talking about in this is really mindfulness, right? Just becoming aware.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's so great about that, and something you and I spoke about before, is that everything that we're talking about, it's not that you're good or bad at it. It's something that is a practice for you. It's something that you can work into your day.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And the more you try it and the more you're kind with yourself and you just kind of surrender to the process, the much more successful it can be, right? So we so often worry, am I doing this right? Am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it enough, right? And a lot of people get stuck with that. That's very normal.
And I think, so I brought up getting pulled over yesterday, but in some ways I saw that, besides, having a lead foot, it was almost a testament to like the success of meditating, like how it's worked its way into my life, that I wasn't freaking out or crying, or I was just, okay, I did it.
Absolutely, right? It really, a regular practice of mindfulness can really help us lengthen our response times, right? Or our reaction times. And it helps with the response. So good for you.
Oh, thanks. It's taken a while.
That's all right. We're here for a while, hopefully.
So we do have a question. When do you suggest using the 5 senses technique?
Absolutely. There's no right or wrong. Okay. So I would recommend practicing this whenever you can. It can be shortened, right? It can be, okay, what do I see? And you can name 2 things, right? This practice doesn't have to be 30 minutes. I think that's where we get stuck. There is no right or wrong way. The thing I recommend is practice this before you're really, really, really anxious. Okay? Because once you start to practice, you'll be surprised that your body will start to react and go, oh, I know what you're doing, and will follow suit. Okay. So I remember when I was learning this, I actually was, I was in a grocery store line, and this was when my kiddos were really young and they couldn't get off the bus. And I remember being worried that I was going to be late because I was in the grocery line. And of course I always pick the longest line. And I remember doing this. There is no right or wrong. You can do this anytime. But when we do practice, when we're not anxious, we're much less worried we're much less apt to get frustrated or to feel or to worry that we're not doing it right. So just practice anytime.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I think I'm going to move on.
Sure.
Okay. So the next strategy we're going to do is an action strategy. So as I mentioned, one of the quickest ways to change our mood is to move. Okay. So, and that's not just anxiety. All right. If you're angry, move. If you're sad, move. If you're anxious, move. Okay. So the quickest way is to actually just move. So in this deck, there's also a number of action strategies to give you some ideas of different things that you can do. But in this particular strategy, I'm going to ask that you sit up straight in your chair and uncross your legs for this. And
I'm going to join in for this.
Perfect. This is one that I've been sharing for a very, very long time, and anybody can do it. And you will see at the bottom of this card, there's a reminder, okay? Remember, perfecting this is not important. Doing it is. If you want to come up with your own numbers and your own actions, great. The keys to this is you are giving your mind something to do other than worry, okay? So in this, I'm going to ask you to use these fingers, and and these are the movements, okay? So you can follow along after. I'm just going to show you real quick. You're going to tap here on the cheekbone directly. If you're looking forward, it's directly under your pupil, all right? But again, if you want to do it over here, do it over here. This is just some guidelines. Next, you're going to do a crossing motion, one palm over the next, okay? Like this, then opposite side, and then tap on your legs. It's as simple as that, okay? So I also invite you may not be super anxious right now, and hopefully you're not. Hopefully I'm not causing everyone to be more anxious out there. But you can kind of check in with yourself, and on a scale of 1 to 10, just, kind of rate yourself really quickly and just say, okay, maybe I'm a 5, maybe I'm a 9 right now. And that gives you kind of just a jumping off to see, well, do I feel better? So we're going to start. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath in and out. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath in and out. And that completes one cycle. So let's say, for example, you decided that you were at an 8. Okay, so you're really feeling really anxious and you're at an 8. A lot of times after doing this once, okay, you may move maybe half, maybe 1. So maybe you become a 7, or maybe you're still a 7.5. All right. So we're going to do it again. Because generally, as we continue to do the cycles, we can see ourselves coming down. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath in and out. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And deep breath in and a deep breath out. I'm so relaxed, I've lost count. Was that 3 times? We can always do it one more time.
I don't remember.
Let's do it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Deep breath in and out. It's okay. It's okay to mess it up. It's okay to lose, it's all good, right?
Well, I think it's a testament to how calming it is that in the middle of a live stream, we both have literally no idea how many rounds we did.
It's all good. So yes, so then if you were to check in, okay, so maybe if you were a 7, maybe that helped you get down to a 5. Generally, what I hear from clients and my own personal experience and the experience of others is it's generally between the 2nd and 3rd, and then the 3rd and the 4th time. Now, if something is really, I've had clients go into the bathroom at work and use this strategy and find it's very, very helpful. If you need to do this on the sly, you can do that too. All right. So what I recommend, like for kids who are sitting at a desk in school, if they get nervous, just tap their legs and tap their feet. Like it can be any kind of combination. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That was great. And fun fact, everyone, that series that we just ran through, Carrie, myself, and Anthony ran through that before the start of the live stream because we really love it. We find it very grounding. And one thing that that I notice is I focus a lot on breathing because I often hold my breath or feel like I'm holding my breath. And Carrie said, well, you're still here, so we know you're doing okay. But often when I'm meditating or focusing on something, I feel like I hold my breath. And even now, when we went through the first round, as we were going through the motions, I was holding my breath. But that's why I like, as part of this series, that breath is part of it. So it's a reminder, hey, if you're holding your breath and over focusing, you're supposed to breathe.
Yes, absolutely. And don't worry that if you don't breathe long enough, your body will tell you. It will remind you. Don't worry.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely. All right. Do we want to move on, or are there any questions about this?
So I think there was one question about, you started to bring this up, which is great. meditation differs between children and adults. And so that was a great recommendation that you just said about, like a kid in school, how, how they can adapt it for, A, being a kid, but A, being a kid in public, and what they can do.
Absolutely. And you'll notice there is a difference, the original deck can be for anyone to use. And you certainly can buy this deck and use this deck with your children and teach the strategies. The purpose of, so the second deck that we did, which was going to be the original deck, but honestly, after we created it, we're like, this is too good just for kids, right? We need this for everybody. But so when we did this, we really were very thoughtful in the words that we chose to help simplify it to some degree for kids. So that, if they're old enough to read, they're going to need a little bit of help. But I think in this one, like it may look a little different, right? We tried to make the cards look a little bit more just simple.
Yeah. And, is it, if you're a parent of a child who is dealing with anxiety just because of what's happening, in the world around us, there's a lot of things going on. I can imagine you don't always know what to say and start that conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. We will talk next about the importance of words. So thank you. That was a very good segue.
I didn't even try.
Appreciate that. Yeah, right. We start to worry about what to say and what not to say, and we're so worried about doing everything wrong, right? And that is, again, very normal, very human, natural. So common. All right. So next is the reminders, the conversation starters, and affirmations. Okay, these are how we think about things. The language we use is so important. Okay, when we spend our day telling ourselves that we can't do something, all right, when we, you're not going to be surprised to hear that who we hear the most is ourselves. No matter if we admit it or not, we all talk to ourselves. We talk to ourselves all day long. Some of us talk to ourselves out loud. Others talk to ourselves in our head. But we talk to ourselves all the time. When we can start to pay greater attention and bring greater awareness to the language that we're using with ourselves, we can start to make a shift in our mood pretty quickly, all right? So you'll notice if with that diagram, when you are feeling anxious or sad or mad, do that diagram backwards, right? What are the thoughts that are being associated with it? My guess is the thoughts aren't very kind. They're not very nice. All right, so in both of these decks, what you're going to find is there's going to be 22 strategies. All right, so I showed you 2 of them tonight. There's also going to be, 20 others. But then there's also in each deck, there's in the original deck, there's reminders and affirmations. And in the kids' decks, instead of reminders, which you can see on this card, there's conversation starters. How do we talk to our kids about worry, right? So I'm just going to go on to the next. All right, here's a couple of examples. The blue card on the left of your screen is a conversation card. This is conversation starter. This is in the kids deck. When I feel worried, I can ask blank to blank with me. All right. A lot of times we stop at worrying about something, and instead of, so for example, in the past, I've led like divorce groups, etc. And one of the things that always comes up is, I am so worried that I am going to be lonely and sad, or I'm going to be sad this Thanksgiving. Okay. And it's not very empowering to just worry that you're going to be sad on Thanksgiving. in this particular case, in this particular client that I was having this conversation with, she was going to be sad. She didn't have to worry about being sad. She was going to be sad. It was a given. Okay. When she got past the worrying that she was going to be sad, then we could problem solve and go, you're going to be worried or you're going to be sad on Thanksgiving. What can you do about it? This is the same idea, right? Is that you want to be able to, for yourself and for your kids, you want to talk about when you're in these situations, what can you do, right? Use your tools. Using our tools empowers us, right? We're not as afraid. We're fortified. Like we've got this, right? We're never going to go through this world without worrying again. Things happen, and a lot of things that are outside of our control happen. So how can we manage the best that we possibly can manage in each of those situations? So again, the conversation starters are there to help you start talking with your kiddos and start planning. The reminders, let me see if I can go backwards. Oh, I can. Okay, so there's a couple of different examples here of what the reminder cards look like, okay? I am not my worry, and my worry is not me. Really important that if we've been anxious or worried long enough, we start to believe that is who we are. We're not, okay? We are so much more than our worry, just like we are so much more than our name. We are so much more than, how many kids we have and what kind of house we live in. We are so much more than that, okay? So when we're in a bad place, the reminder cards can help remind us of some of the language that we want to be using as opposed to some of the language that we have kind of grown accustomed to using. And then the affirmation cards, as you can see here, the I am silly, the ones in blue are the ones from the kids deck, and then the ones in black and green are from the original deck. Affirmations, right? Unfortunately, very few people get out of bed in the morning and go, good morning, gorgeous. You are going to have a fabulous day. That would be great, right? That would be so wonderful. I am so pumped. Like I've got this day. Unfortunately, not enough of us do that, myself included. We tend to be kind of hard on ourselves sometimes. So, and we like to point out the things where we feel like we're falling short, as opposed to really celebrating the things that are true about us, right? The I am statements, the affirmations. And so these cards can be used as just a reminder. They can be used with a deck. They can be used on their own to help us just remember of how we want to be talking to ourselves.
And Carrie, so Kim popped in to let you know that she and her girls love the affirmations, especially.
Thank you, Kim. All right, so that is all I have to share. I would be happy to answer any kind of questions if there's any questions. And
so, what do you think is something that most commonly trips up people when they're trying to, get a handle on this notion of worry?
What trips up people?
I mean, everything. Life, thoughts, the world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I exactly understand the question. I think that.
What do you think is a barrier to taking the step towards what you've shown us tonight? Why don't people try this?
Fear. And so I often work in my practice. I work with a lot of clients that we often come from one of two places. We either come from a place of love, openness, or we come from fear. There is fear in all of us. And oftentimes, a lot of our fears are we're not even conscious of them, right? So oftentimes what happens is, as much as we believe we want to change something, okay? So let's say, for example, I want to be less anxious. Mm-hmm. If you've been anxious for a really long time, there can sometimes be a fear of, but who would I be without my anxiety? And you would be surprised at how often, even when our current circumstances are uncomfortable, we are very attached to them. And I encourage people to really look at this, right? So it's kind of like the reasons why people say, I want to lose weight, okay? And yet are still not finding it within them to go exercise or change their diet. It's not that they can't. It's certainly not that they don't know what to do, right? So a lot of times we need to start to look at, well, what are we in fact afraid of? Okay. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. We also have a question. How does one go about using the deck? Randomly as needed, or is there a better method? Are there any directions in the card pack?
Yes, there are. And as a matter of fact, it's so funny because when we first did the worry deck, we didn't put any instructions because I'm like, don't worry about it. You it however you want. Well, guess what? People who worry do not like that answer.
That's totally fair.
Right? They want to know how to use it. So, so we did do a little bit of rebranding and we put some instructions on the back, okay? But it is as simple as this. When you get the deck or you get the app or however you use it, flip through it, right? You look through it all. You're going to find that it's organized into strategies, reminders, and affirmations, or strategies, conversation starters, and affirmations. Mix them all up, pick one if you like. They are organized by beautiful illustrations. So if you know you want just to pick an affirmation for the morning, you look for the butterflies in the kids deck, or you look for the leaves, these beautiful leaves. I'm not sure if you can see that on my camera. In this deck, okay? So they are organized by illustrations. So the short answer is there's no wrong way, but become familiar with it, pick your favorites. You're going to, certainly with the strategies, you're going to find your go-tos that you really enjoy doing and that you want to practice. There really is no wrong way. And when you see it, it is organized by illustrations, but you really can't do it wrong. But if you feel like you can, email me and I'll walk it for sure.
Just in case, Carrie's available to answer any questions about how to use the deck. But I totally understand the worry about the worry deck.
Absolutely, right? Like you get this tool and you're like, what do I do with it? Absolutely.
You want to do everything right. It's, it's like anytime you start a new hobby, it's you get all the pieces together so you can be prepared to be perfect at it, even though you haven't started yet.
One of the affirmations in the original deck is I am perfectly imperfect.
I love that. And I think you had mentioned something the other day that I absolutely loved. It was the quote, "My biggest flaw is that I'm human." Is that what you said? Yeah.
That's I beat myself up most about the fact that I'm human, right? That I, like lots of people, have exceedingly high expectations for myself, and I think that that's how many of us kind of function in our lives, right? And when we fall short of that, we're not very nice to ourselves. We say things and think things about ourselves and our flaws or our shortcomings or our humanness, and say things that we would never dream of saying to a friend or a loved one. And I think that that's the importance of that language, is really understanding, like, if I can give them a break, why in the world am I having such a difficult time giving myself a break? Like, absolutely.
And I think what, so much of what you've talked about tonight is kind of giving everyone space with their feelings, so you're not just completely reacting. It's creating that space, like you were saying, space between the time that you feel something and the time that you react. and, you know, space to feel the world around us and space to smell the essential oil, and that, you know, the calmness that can come with it. And I think that's really, really powerful. So thank you.
Yes. You know, in my experience, we as humans, the beauty for us as humans is we have a whole range of emotions, right? And they then get labeled as good, or they get labeled as bad. I think this is on my website. But this is what I think about, and what I notice is that we really don't like to experience our own negative emotion, what we call negative or bad emotions. And we really don't like to tolerate other people's bad emotions. And when we do, we feel like we are flawed. And so we tend to just kind of push them down or distract ourselves from them, right? We try to get rid of them. But just like the breath, okay, the body absolutely wants to feel that emotion. It's essential, right? So it becomes sensations in our bodies. So even if you can distract yourself with having a drink or going out for a run, or even, you know, good ways, bad ways, whatever way, if you don't give respect and awareness to that particular feeling, it will come back.
Mm-hmm.
The quickest way to move through emotion is to sit with it and to give it respect.
No, I love that. And one of the quotes that I had heard when I was first starting meditation was, "Hurt more, suffer less." And it was this, what you were saying, give the emotion. I hadn't heard it this way, but give it respect, let it exist, and then you can actually move on. And then when it comes back, you can deal with it, but it's not coming back in that long-term underlying worry, suffer cycle.
Absolutely. It actually, when you sit with it, you process it and you let it go.
Yeah.
That is not to say that you will never feel anger again or sadness, because that is our humanness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this was delightful.
Oh. You get worried delightful. Try.
You know, you really did, because I mean, well, honestly, we all worry. So let's take the teeth out of it and just you know, talk about it frankly, honestly, and openly. And I thought this was a really great testament to that. And so thank you, Carrie, for, you know, spending time with us. Thank you to everyone who's been watching and joining. And so everyone knows, I put some links in the comment section. So we have links to the worry deck. We have links to Carrie's website. Oh, here, I can even put this up on the screen, maybe. Oh, just kidding. We have links to Carrie's website. And I also put in links to Kim's artwork as well, because, you know, she had helped bring us all together. And, oh, and so we have one more comment that says, "Thank you. Your session is great and thought-provoking."
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Love that.
Hour with us.
That's very sweet. So anyone, if you have, you know, any questions, feel free to follow up with us at the drawing room or with Carrie. I'll probably follow up with an email as well with the links, so everyone has them. So, you know, the worry decks are available at the drawing room as well. So if you have your sights set on one of these decks, you know where to find them. And like Carrie said, they're also available as apps, which is very exciting as well.
Yeah, the app is free to download. So you'll get a couple of strategies, and then there's an app purchase to get the entire. So
yeah.
Thank you.
It works. It works. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Anthony.